Welcome to Adult ypww Lesson 11. Today's topic is The Samaritan Woman, a Voice in Her City. The lesson text is coming out of John chapter 4, verses 28 through 30. The memory verse. I will read the King James Version first and then the New Living Translation of John chapter 4, verse 28. The woman then left her water pot and went her way into the city, and said to the men, Come, see a man which told me all things that ever I did. Is not this the Christ? The New Living Translation of John chapter 4, verse 28. The woman left her water jar beside the well and ran back to the village, telling everyone, Come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could he possibly be the Messiah? So the people came streaming from the village to see him. The introduction. The Samaritan woman enters the biblical story as someone accustomed to avoidance rather than attention. She comes to the well at an unusual hour, alone and unnoticed, carrying a history that has shaped her isolation in the ancient world. Wells were communal spaces, places of conversation, connection, and daily rhythm. By coming alone at midday, she is not merely drawing water, she is navigating shame, social memory, and exclusion. Her isolation is not accidental, it is learned. She has adapted her life to avoid scrutiny. Yet what begins as a routine, even protective task, becomes a divine appointment. At Jacob's well, she encounters Jesus Christ, and that encounter alters not only her personal trajectory, but the spiritual direction of an entire city. One often overlooked detail is that Jesus meets her on contested ground. Samaritans and Jews disputed ownership of Jacob's well and worship itself. Jesus chooses this exact location to reveal himself, showing that he enters places marked by division and misunderstanding to establish truth. Her story is striking because she is not trained, credentialed, or commissioned in any conventional sense. She is not introduced as a leader or teacher, but as a woman with a complicated relational past and limited social standing. What is rarely emphasized is that she is also the first person in John's Gospel to whom Jesus openly identifies himself as the Messiah. He reveals his identity to her before he does to religious leaders, scholars, or disciples. This detail challenges assumptions about who is deemed ready to receive revelation. The discussion. Jesus' conversation with the Samaritan woman unfolds across cultural, social, and spiritual boundaries. She is a Samaritan. He is a Jew. She is a woman. He is a rabbi. She is known for her past. He knows her completely. The conversation itself is unexpected, but what follows is even more remarkable. Jesus speaks directly into her life, revealing truth without condemnation and knowledge without rejection. For the first time, someone sees her fully and does not turn away. A seldom noted aspect is that Jesus does not begin by correcting her theology or confronting her past. He begins by asking her for something, water. In doing so, he positions her not as a problem to be fixed, but as a person of value. Only later does he address her history, and even then, he does so without accusation. Truth is spoken without humiliation, thus creates space for her to respond rather than retreat. The Samaritan woman's significance lies not in her past, but in her response. She does not argue away the truth or minimize it. She allows herself to be known. At that willingness to be seen fully without being rejected becomes the catalyst for her voice. This lesson explores how a personal encounter with truth turns avoidance into courage, shame into testimony, and a silenced life into a speaking one. It reminds us that God often entrusts revelation to those who least expect it, and that the most powerful witnesses are often those who were once trying to remain unseen. As the conversation progresses, the woman begins to recognize that she is not merely speaking with an ordinary man. Jesus exposes details of her life that no stranger could know, yet he does so without shaming her. This is a crucial, often overlooked aspect of the encounter. Truth is delivered with dignity. The woman does not retreat in embarrassment. Instead, clarity awakens courage. John chapter 4 verse 28 marks a pivotal shift. The woman then left her water pot. The abandoned water pot is more than a narrative detail. It symbolizes a change in priority. What she came for no longer matters as much as what she has discovered. The water she sought has been eclipsed by the living water she has encountered. Leaving the water pot behind signals that her old routing or her old routine no longer holds her attention. The woman then does something unexpected. She goes back to the city she once avoided. The same place that likely whispered about her past now becomes the place where she speaks openly. Her words are simple and honest. Come see a man which told me all things that ever I did. She does not claim complete understanding or spiritual mastery. She invites others into discovery. Her testimony is not polished, it is personal. What makes her witness effective is not theological precision, but authenticity. She speaks from experience, not expertise. Her credibility does not come from status, but from transformation. The city listens not because she has become impressive overnight, but because something about her has changed. The woman who once avoided community now becomes a voice within it. The application. The Samaritan woman's story challenges the deeply rooted belief that God only uses people with clean pasts, polished reputations, or public approval. Her life makes it clear that encounter precedes influence. She was not recruited, trained, or formally commissioned before she spoke. No one gave her instructions on what to say or how to say it. She simply testified to what had happened to her. The authority of her voice did not come from preparation, but from encounter. God did not wait for her life to look perfect before allowing her to speak. He allowed transformation to speak for itself. Many believers underestimate the power of their own story because they believe readiness requires completion. We often tell ourselves that we must be fully healed, fully informed, or fully confident before we open our mouths. The Samaritan woman shows us otherwise. She speaks while still processing the conversation, still learning what it means, and still becoming who God is shaping her to be. She does not present a finished theology. She presents a lived experience. God uses her honesty, not her certainty, to draw others toward the truth. This lesson also forces us to reconsider how we view our past. What the Samaritan woman once tried to avoid and conceal becomes the very point of connection with others. She openly acknowledges that Jesus knew her history, and instead of disqualifying her, that knowledge becomes the reason others listen. Her vulnerability does not weaken her witness, it strengthens it. God does not erase her story or ask her to pretend it never happened. He redeems it. The places that once carried shame become bridges to understanding, and the wounds that once isolated her become doorways to community. The Samaritan woman also teaches us that genuine transformation seeks expression. When truth takes root in a person's life, silence becomes uncomfortable. She could not keep the encounter to herself, not because she felt obligated, but because something within her had changed. Encounter creates urgency. Freedom creates movement. Faith that is real will eventually find a voice, and testimony will naturally flow from a life that has been touched by truth. The conclusion: the Samaritan woman's journey from isolation to influence reveals the life-changing power of a personal encounter with truth. What began as a routine trip to a well became the defining moment of her life and the spark of awakening in her city. She arrived burdened by history and expectation, but she left carrying a message that could not be contained. An ordinary conversation became an extraordinary turning point. Her story assures us that God does not wait for perfection before He sends people to speak. He works through willing hearts, honest testimonies, and lives deeply affected by truth. The woman who once avoided community becomes the one who draws it together. Shame gives way to courage, and silence gives way to witness, not through force or persuasion, but through changed hearts. In the end, the Samaritan woman reminds us that God often elevates those who have been overlooked and gives voice to those who were once unheard. When truth meets a willing heart, even the quietest lives can carry a message powerful enough to reshape a city. The questions for today: 1. Verse 1, or question 1. Why do you think the Samaritan woman left her water pot behind after meeting Jesus? Number 2. What made her testimony effective even though it was simple and unpolished? Number 3. How does Jesus' approach to her past challenge how we speak truth today? Number 4. In what ways can personal encounter become public witness? Number 5. What part of your story might God want to use to reach others? The end. God bless you and thank you for joining me today.